a once-in-a-lifetime experience? Would you not want to do it again?
No, I don't think I would want to do it again. You know, it was very challenging, and I'm really glad that I got to do it, and I learned a lot. But like I said, it was just way tougher. I mean, you get so emotionally invested in your team too, and those fighters and stuff, and you take their wins and losses like they're yours, and it's just really challenging in every single way. You know, the training, and then it was mostly emotional, mental. It's so challenging, like, and just having to deal with her every single day. But I'm glad that that happened because it really strengthened me and helped me to like not let her get inside my head. You know, like she did the first time. She really emotionally challenged me and mentally, and then she won that. You know, she definitely got in my head, and I was too emotional going into the fight. But after being around it for 6 weeks, eventually it was just like, all right, get out of here. Like, you know, I'm tired of your crap.
You said you two are going to come off like crazy people, and obviously, you know, he's in the editing room. He's privy to stuff on the behind the curtain. But do you think that's true? Do you think you guys are going to come off like crazy people?
Well, I think we're going to come off like normal women, like how they would exactly be when they don't like each other. It's very natural. It's just what you would expect, like, you know, two women that can't stand each other, that are very competitive, like just want to strangle each other, you know.
Was there anything specific as far as that got under your skin, or just the
I don't think I can get into specifics, you know, but I mean, it's nothing new. It's the same thing that it's been. It's just that we had to do it for 6 weeks, you know, and it builds and builds and builds. So I mean, it's exactly what you think it's going to be.
She seems like a popular champion. Why do you have a different view of her? Or do you think that she's not a popular champion?
No, I do. I think she's really popular, and I think part of it was coming into MMA is like she took a big risk in being so bold. You know, no woman before her had been so vocal and so outspoken about things, and you know, it could have led to her demise, you know, but it didn't. You know, just a risk that she took, and it paid off, and I think people will enjoy that. You know, she adds fuel to the fire, so to speak, and you know, that's really it. And the only reason I don't like her personally is because she's always been so disrespectful to me. I mean, it would be like if you put yourself in my shoes. I'm the champion. I've never heard of this Ronda Rousey girl, and all of a sudden I see an interview with her, and she says, "Oh, I'm going to drop to 135, and I'm going to slap that title out of her hands," and it just went from there. And that was the tone that I got from her from the very beginning, because I was a champion at the time. And it's hard to like someone who just comes at you and is so disrespectful and so aggressive. So I think if anyone were me, you know, they would have felt a little bit offended. And then obviously I lost her, so I was a little bitter about that. But I moved on since, and you know, I am happy for what she's been able to do for women's MMA. And you know, I don't think we would be where we're at if it wasn't for her. So I do appreciate that. But I'm never gonna be happy around someone who's constantly disrespectful and constantly just like on me and my loved ones, and just, you know, just the way Ronda is. You know, she's just very out there.
Speaking of your loved one, she attacked Brian Caraway pretty early in this whole process. How was that dynamic on set?
You know, he did a really good job just not even feeding into it. You know, for a guy, it's a lose-lose. If he says anything to her, you know what I mean, he's the bad guy, and she just kind of, there wasn't a whole lot of interaction between the two of them, actually, you know. I made sure of that, so.
It's a little bit down the road, but by the time you and Ronda get around to your rematch, you're going to be on the same card as Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman rematch. It looks like it's going to be one of the biggest events in UFC history. What are your thoughts just on being part of that card?
So cool, you know. I definitely think that we had the ability to carry the weight of the main event,
sure,
like no problem, but I do think that the fans are in for a real treat with a really stacked card like that. So.